Good morning, my name is Mihaela Viorica Rusitoru. I prepare my doctorate thesis at the University of Strasbourg and University Babes-Bolyai of Cluj-Napoca. My presentation is called The Future of Lifelong Learning in Europe, Example of Good Practice in Religious Education in Romania. My presentation has several parts: Introduction, European context, Romanian legal framework, example of good practice in Romania, and conclusion. Religion is an important element of national, European and universal culture. For example, traveling through Europe, you may discover the spiritual wealth and the diversity of monasteries, churches, pictures and sculptures, but also musical and literary masterpieces. In almost all countries of Europe, religious education is offered as a part of the national, public or private school system. We shall, however, notice that there often is a gap between theory and practice. Concerning the European context of religious education, we can say that the European Union began to take an interest in education in the 19th. The Maastricht Treaty contained the first explicit reference to education. The Amsterdam Treaty gave the European Union the mission to promote the development of the highest possible level of knowledge for their peoples through a wide access to education and through its continuous updating in the context of the accomplishment of the internal market. In this way, economic aspects were given priority over personal, cultural and spiritual development. At the European level, there are several legal instruments which have a bearing of religious education, the most important being the Fundamental Rights Charter of the European Union and the European Human Rights Convention of the Council of Europe. The European Human Rights Convention guarantees at the Article 9 the right to freedom of religion in the following terms. Everyone has a right to freedom of conscience and religion. His rights include freedom to change his religion or beliefs and the freedom to manifest his religion or belief in worship, teaching, practice and observance. Later, in 1962, the first protocol to the European Human Rights Convention concerning the right to education and more specifically the right of parents to answer education in conformity with their religious convictions stated that no person shall be denied the right to education in the exercise of any function in relation to education and to teaching. The state shall respect the right of parents to answer such education and teaching in conformity with their own religions and philosophical conviction. The Charter of the European Union took up the same idea and guarantees at the Article 10 the freedom of conscience and religion in the same terms as the European Convention on Human Rights. The same Charter guarantees at the Article 14 the right to education in these terms: the freedom to found educational establishment with due respect for democratic principles and the rights of parents to answer the education and training of their children in conformity with their religious, philosophical and pedagogical conviction should be respected in accordance with the national law governing the exercise of such freedom and right. The most recent case law in this field is a judgment of the European Human Rights Court, pronounced on 20 March 2011 and concerning the crucifix in public schools in Italy. In this case, the European Human Rights Court stated that the cross as a symbol of Christianity constitutes the universal sign of the acceptance and the respect for every human being, and then decided that the crucifix in Italian classroom should not be seen as violation of the human rights of atheist parents. Concerning the Romanian legal framework for Christian Orthodox education, we can say that the conformity between international instruments and national law is necessary because, under the Article 11 of the Romanian Constitution, the Romanian state pledges to fulfill as such, and in good faith, its obligation as deriving from the treaties it is a party to, and also these treaties ratified by Parliament according to the law are part of national law. In Romania, over 18 churches and different religious communities are recognized by the state. The Christian Orthodox Church is the most important one, and for this reason, my presentation we only deal with Christian Orthodox education. The Romanian Constitution states at the Article 29 that all religions should be free and organized in accordance with their own statutes under the terms laid down by law, and also the parents or legal tutors have the right to answer in accordance with their own conviction the education of the minor children whose responsibility devolves on them. Concerning the right to education, the Romanian Constitution guarantees at the Article 32 that the state shall ensure the freedom of religious education in accordance with the specific requirements of each religious cult. In public schools, religious education is organized and guaranteed by law. In legislation, religious education had been introduced after the breakdown of communism. At present, the Act number 1/2011, Article 18 on National Education and Lifelong Learning grants religious teaching the same status as the other subject. Therefore, in Romania, the Christian Orthodox Church enjoys the freedom to organize religious teaching in public schools for its member, but the law make no reference to preschool and adult education. In order to explain many examples of good practice in religious education in Romania, several recent research projects studied the pedagogical methods used, pointing out examples of good practice. The most interesting and effective example were the following: biblical story and parables are used in order to familiarize peoples with the Holy Scriptures, giving them relevant interpretation of this text and the teaching of Jesus, his apostles, and the fathers of the Church. Visits of monasteries and churches in Romania or abroad, with the aim of giving people an opportunity to discover places of great relevance to their faith, of praying together, of deepening their faith. Prayers and actions of solidarity are organized in particular in the context of the great Christian holidays, Christmas, Easter, trying to raise people's religious awareness. On the one hand, the idea is to make them adapt a daily program, a certain rhythm of prayers, and on the other hand, to help them to practice charities for those who may be in need. Painting classes are trying to develop people's artistic creativity and introduce them into religious art, such icons, religious pictures. The idea is also to illustrate the importance and the evolution of picture in the Orthodox Church. Learning religious hymns is rather a recreational activity, which develops the sense of beauty in music and the skills to sing in harmony with the other. These methods and examples of good practice are supplemented by other forms such portfolios, essays, teamwork presentation according to the teacher's imagination. In conclusion, there is constant tension between the European and the national level, as well as between theory and practice. For example, at the political level, we remember the controversial debates about reference to the Christian roots of Europe during the elaboration of the draft European Constitution, which was never adopted. It became clear that economic progress continues to be priority of the European Union. Some authors, like Weiler and Weigel, spoke of an attitude of Christophobia, or a form of neo-barbarism developed by Alexander Baricco. An analysis of European culture and history will reveal that Christian values used to constitute the basis of inspiration for the humanities, literature, culture, and also for human rights. It is therefore not possible to neglect the religious development of human being. In fact, Christianity gave birth to the very notion of Europe, in the modern sense of the term, and this not as a merely geographical reality, but it was always Christianity, which developed and achieved Europe as a community of Christian countries sharing the same kind of civilization. So, information on example of good practice in this field may contribute to the enrichment of the religious education. Here you can find many references which helped me to write this presentation. To finish, I would like to thank you very much for your attention.